So this building here that we're standing in is very special to us because this was the original location of the Barber Museum. And when we were kids, as it were, we would come down here a couple times a month and try to knock on the door and try to get in again. And this was in the early to mid 1990s when the museum was really kind of getting going. They didn't really have a lot of people in and out of here. They didn't really want anybody because they were just starting it. But there was, at one time, there was about 450 motorcycles here. And a lot of it's the core of the collection now. And when you walk around through the rest of the building, you'll see we got some pictures up of different stations of what was here before. The primary reason why Motus is in Birmingham is because of Mr. Barber and his organization and the wonderful business climate in Alabama, but particularly because what he's done for Alabama and for motorcycling in Alabama. He's a big inspiration and hero of ours. So this building got pretty cool ghosts in it. It was a fun place to come to, and we made a lot of friends here, but it was obviously very different than what they have now. Yeah, absolutely. So we're selling motorcycles now. We're pre-selling them to dealers, and what we're doing now, and the stage that we're in right now, is we have 2 more emissions tests. We've successfully completed 2 of them. We have 2 more of them, and that will give us the ability to take that paperwork and hand it to the Californians and to the feds, and then they can hold it for a week or a month or who knows how long they hold it, and then they send you back a certificate and say you are legal to street legally sell a motorcycle. The goal was to create a comfortable American sport bike in much the same vein that this country can build, in my mind, the best sports cars in the world. You know, modern Corvette, Cadillac CTSV, Camaro, they're dominant in racing. So we perceive that Americans can build really, really good sports cars, and we never understood why we couldn't build a good sport bike. Where's the bike that matches the Camaros, the Corvettes, and NASCAR, and all those kinds of things that we love? We're hot rod freaks, we're muscle car guys. So we said, all right, well, we need a motor. So we looked at all the different kinds of motors that we could buy. Well, we could buy a Harley motor, S&S motor, a Rotax motor. We could buy all that stuff. But none of those motors really met our sort of parameters for what we wanted for, really for anything. So here's a little motor. It's a ride-by-wire setup. It's got a very sophisticated electronic system, but from a basic package, it's very easy to understand and work on. We went with things like the most readily available oil filter in the world, which can be bought at any Napa or O'Reilly for $6.50. So we try to do some common sense things, which means the ownership experience of a Motus is pretty cool because you don't have to buy some exotic, only made in Germany oil filter. You can go to Napa or O'Reilly and buy them for $6.50 and put it in yourself. So we've done a lot of things that make the experience of a Motus hopefully fun, because you're not struggling with those kind of things. You're not doing valve adjustments. You basically just ride the motorcycle, change oil. Okay. Any questions there?
Does it make more torque than a Harley?
Yeah, so.
Oh, you're being serious. I think that every Harley's different. They got different ones. Your big twin Harley that's out now usually making about 80 to 85 foot-pounds. This one making about 126.
I think the only thing that comes close to the numbers you're talking about is the big Triumph triple.
Yeah, something like that.
That Black 3 is the only thing that's in that neighborhood.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
So 180 is the base.
This is 165 horses.
I mean, 165.
Yeah, 123
So the
foot-pounds.
R then is up in the.
Like 80.
Well, what's the weight?
This bike, full wet, 5.5 gallons. Luggage, about 580, 590, somewhere in there. All the seats made by Sargent. We get parts from the best places we can possibly find. So the seats are made in Florida, and the windscreens are made in Chicago, and the electronics are made in Tulsa, and we make these engines in East Texas. So we cast the engines, we machine them there, we test them there, and then they get sent here.
What's made overseas, something gotta be made over. You didn't mention China at all. What's up?
Out of China, I don't specifically know. We get parts from wherever we gotta get them, but we try to get as much domestically as we can possibly get. There's just some things just not really made here, like wheels, for example. These wheels are made in Italy. Forks are made in Sweden. So, you get what you get where you can. This is what we hate. I don't know how many people, y'all like me, where you went out and bought a big fancy expensive motorcycle and you told your wife, oh baby, it's $18,000, blah, blah, blah. Then you got home and it was like $23,000 because you put a new seat on it and adjustable bars and a new windscreen and acro pipes. I've been in that game many times. So when we did this, and we find that wasteful. Like, I don't want to buy a new bike and take the seat and throw it off. that's dumb and that's wasteful, and that's not really our mindset. So we're really trying to build something for you guys that's of real value, and some people will just get it because they've done that before. They had the brand new saddle and they took it and they put a $700 Sergeant saddle on it. They had some handlebars that came on it, they went out and bought an $800 set of Healy bars. Well, why don't you just build it into the bike?
If this seat doesn't suit, say this guy over here,
Yeah.
can he send it to Sergeant?
Yeah,
Custom-
absolutely.
just like it was
Those guys are
bought?
great. They're wonderful. Everybody who knows Sergeant knows that's the kind of stuff they do.
A lot of sport touring guys and touring guys like shaft-driven bikes because they don't have to mess with it.
Right.
And quite frankly, I like chains, but what was the idea behind that? I mean, were you thinking, do we need to go with the shafty for?
Yeah, what were y'all thinking?
The main thinking, Brandon, was that it's a high performance bike. I mean, it is a sport bike.
Right.
It's not a race bike, but it is at its heart a sport bike. It happens to have an upright riding position and accommodations for touring, but it's basically just a comfortable sport bike. And for the same reason that all sport bikes are made with chains, our bike's made with a chain because it's the lightest, simplest, and most effective way to get power to the ground.
My name's Tom Veretti, I'm the production manager. I came on about 2011, about the end of 2011 after those two prototypes were already finished. As Lee said, I worked for Polaris for a few years doing design engineering in the snowmobile division, so it's a little bit different than probably a lot of people around here have experienced. But my job really was to get the bikes from the prototype stage into a production stage, so it gave me an opportunity to really get to know the bikes. I got to go through every component. Basically, with Brian's help, we just went back through everything and said, how do you make this, more economical, more, higher quality, things like that. So in this particular space is where Barbara rebuilt, I believe, somewhere on the order of 400 of the bikes that are in the museum right now. So it's kind of fun to be able to use that space to build ours. And when you get kind of the other end of the room, there's a great picture right in the corner there of this room with all those bikes. So our plan, what you see right here now are we're kind of in a wrapping up the production development stage and doing our durability testing. So we've got 3 to 5 bikes, and they're kind of all over the place. 3 of them are in here. Well, we've got 4 of them here, and 1, I think somebody might have mentioned, is doing our emissions testing right now. There's a 4th one in here, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But basically, with these bikes, we've just been out on the road, running them as much as we can. The 2 of them now, the 2 R models, the 2 premiums, don't have engines in them right now because we put a bunch of miles on them, taking them out, and send them back to our engine partners in Texas. And they're tearing them down, inspecting everything, so we're just making sure it's kind of an early warning thing, make sure that nothing goes wrong, or see what's about to, as we go along. And so meanwhile, while we're doing that and using this shop as kind of our garage for working on these bikes, we're also starting the assembly design. We're doing a cellular manufacturing scheme, which means no moving assembly line, at least not yet. The quantities we're planning to do, we're keeping it very simple on the production side, but also relying on craftsmanship to put these together. So one person will essentially be responsible for an entire bike. So we get one that was built by a guy, and his name is going to be on it. It won't be on the windscreen right now, but and it starts with, just like the whole company, it starts with your engine. So on this table, we just got the beginning of our main assembly fixture, and that's going to be on a cart out here. We set that on that fixture in the back, roll it up here, and then you just start assembling the frame. So the frame will be mounted to it, the swing arm, then we'll put on the suspension, the wheels, pull it off, run it over to these bays, and then finish the assembly, the wiring and pipes and the body work and controls. So it'll be kind of a 2-stage process, so we can have initially 3 and then 4 in process at the same time, and as our volumes pick up, we can just add stations to add volume. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. Is this bike here is kind of a mix of new components and some old stuff that hasn't changed, but we're developing the operation standards for assembly, the order that we want to do stuff, the quality checks that we need to do as we go along. as well as training our assemblers.
What are
Suspension.
you looking at for break-in and service center?
As far as the customer is concerned, unless something comes up in our development testing that we haven't seen yet, it's going to be buy it and ride it like you stole it. Yep.
How long, so all the parts are here.
Mhm.
How long is it gonna take to build a motorcycle?
That is still an estimate, and doing these things, we're starting to whittle that down, but right now, I'm assuming about a day and a half per bike. So there'll be one coming out of here. Basically, every day there'll be one
Well,
rolling
if
out
you
with
have
little.
4 of them going,
Yeah, but there'll be, a few assembly steps that aren't here. We have a wheel mounting and balancing in the back, and then shocks are built in one place, the forks and shocks are put together. The brake system will be assembled and bled off the bike and then just assembled on. So there'll be days when we say, okay, today we're doing wheels and tires.
So you're only looking at first year production of the
About 300, yeah, 260.
Okay.
Yep, and then we'll just keep ramping it up as the demand increases. My other little key is that the guy assembling the bike, there'll be somebody that does a final inspection, that guy's gotta be the test rider on it. So everybody that rides one, everybody that builds one is gonna make sure it's together right, because he's gotta put his butt on it.
Have you thought about offering, like Corvette does, a factory purchase option where you can come, perhaps even get a leaf watch or have some little minuscule part and final assembly,
Yeah.
basically you ride your bike.
Danny, we'll do that exact thing, except we won't charge you $6,000 to do it. Come on in here, you can help us put the bike together.
I mean,
You
this
can
would be
ride it.
what, a great thing to be
It
able
is.
to
It's a
fly down here, put your motorcycle together and ride off. That's the American way.
It'll be a lot of stuff that we see every day. I really want to kind of let you guys kind of feel of these things. And the thing about our bikes, and the more you walk around and you kind of look at them, especially in this sort of skeletal state, is just some details. We're detailed guys. So, I want you to just kind of hold this, and this is, the top triple clamp. And I just want to kind of just get you to kind of just observe and just feel of it. We could have had this cast in, China and put on the bike, but that is the exact opposite of the way we actually see the world. And I just want you to kind of see the quality. This is, one billet piece of aluminum. And, there's probably 100 hours in just designing the tool paths to where you get that stair step there. So we're really focused on the things that we perceive as value and quality. And people who have, custom-made hardwood cabinets in their homes versus going to Lowe's and buying boxes off the shelf, they're going to get it. And that's kind of, here's one. This is the front axle nut. So it's a beautifully turned piece. It's not, again, a cast Asian piece. Every one of them is embossed with the torque spec that you would need to know when you were out on the road. So these are very small details, but they are things that can enhance the experience of owning the motorcycle. I just took my wheel off. How the hell tight am I supposed to put it? Well, I'm going to tell you how, because it's on every bolt.
I no longer have to Dremel that into them.
Well, it's just little things that you guys can feel of. And here's one. This is this is something that every motorcycle manufacturer seems to kind of cut a corner on. This is the steering nut. Anybody's ever had a Ducati? Maybe it looks a little bit like that, but if you have a Ducati, you need a special funny spanner wrench. It's $30. And so what we did was actually just sort of put a bolt head on the top of it and then machine in some details to where if you're somewhere and you don't have the funny little spanner wrench that's $30, you can just tighten up your bike and off you go.